Hey, welcome back to the Pleb Underground, the signal without the slop. I am your host, Phil. The stories we are going to be looking at today. That's right, Bunny. Let's go. All right. So, Vanguard. Right, more of Vanguard bending the knee. Oh my gosh, we are surprised. Treasury to exempt unrealized crypto gains for corporations. Well, what does that really mean for you and me besides nothing? We're going to dive into that. Blackrock's in-kind redemptions. Yay, it sounds great for the approved approved providers. Or sorry, I should say the approved participants. But again, what does this mean for you and me? Paper Bitcoin summer updates, not so much today, but we've got a whole bunch of stuff that's lining up for tomorrow. We're going to dive into that. Another strategic Bitcoin reserve announced. I got to tell you guys, a whole lot of people think that these countries are going to be buying Bitcoin. I think there's going to be a whole lot of confiscations going. That's what's going to happen here. The rules are going to change. Anyways, what else? Got some solid Hopium charts, guys. That's right. Bitcoin eating the world, and we've got this spiral chart from Rational Root. You're honestly, your pants are just going to fall off. That's going to happen. Metaphorically, of course. And UBI with stablecoins? Yeah, it's not a drill. All right, guys. That's right. We've got a whole lot of fun stories lined up. You know the deal. You show some love to the Pleb Underground sponsor. We're going to be right back. We're going to dive into this mess. I mean, all of this wonderful news. Here we go. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. All right, let's dive into it right away. Vanguard. Watch this little clip here of some knee bending. It's good stuff.
You're an investor and you want to buy Bitcoin ETFs, you don't want to go to another platform. And nearly every major platform now offers Bitcoin ETFs. So I feel like this is a sign of times, a big shift, but still we're not sure. But when we talked to Vanguard, they said they're listening to clients, they're talking about it. So again, they're opening the window by a little.
Yeah, I mean, to me, what it sounds like is they saw demand from clients.
Yes.
And they want to make sure that clients stay on their platform to do what they
want.
want.
The ecosystem, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. Eric Balchunas, again, he was the one who I talked to for this story. He said that, you know, if Bitcoin ETFs weren't as successful, we may not be seeing this. But it's so hard to ignore the astounding success. I mean, altogether, the cohort has around $142 billion in assets. 80 billion of those is from BlackRock. 20 billion alone came this year. So you don't even see the demand abating. And with the SEC now, you might see more cryptocurrency ETFs to come. And to close the door on that money-making big, like, it's just lavishing capital, investors lavishing capital into these ETFs. Is a big...
Yeah, they don't have a choice. Okay. TLDR, they don't have a choice. I think at this point, I forget how much MSTR they actually hold, but it's pretty interesting watching Vanguard do these mental gymnastics, pretending that they don't want to get involved with Bitcoin. But the reality is, and especially when it comes to shitcoins and stuff like that, they are going to make so much money off of the fees from people getting wrecked. I just don't see, you know, the Vanguard board of directors. I think that they're getting a little pressure, right? We saw what happened, right? That CEO, I totally forget his name now, last year, he conveniently stepped down, got pushed out of the way, and boom, all of a sudden, Vanguard's now buying MicroStrategy shares. They're now warming up to Bitcoin and crypto. What a surprise. Totally not surprised. Anyways, moving on, let's take a look at this Treasury exemption thing. Pretty interesting story. So the Treasury to exempt Bitcoin from 15% CAMT tax on unrealized gains. That's right, guys. Saving strategy billions. That's right. It had nothing to do with us. Just had to do with big corporations. Treasury Department is preparing to formally exempt crypto holdings from the corporate alternative minimum tax, which would eliminate a potential multi-billion-dollar tax liability for companies like Strategy that hold substantial Bitcoin reserves. And as we know, Strategy currently holds approximately 640,000 Bitcoin, worth over $74 billion, with unrealized gains of over $27 billion. So this definitely worked out for them. So, but look, what does it mean for you and me, right? What does it mean for us? Because that's really all I wanted to know. Like, what is this? If you're an average hodler, right, not running a massive corporation, this is good news for the Bitcoin ecosystem, but doesn't change your tax game. You're still taxed only when you cash out. So look, great stuff for the corporations, but again, giant nothing burgers for the end, for the end user, the pleb, just means absolutely nothing for us. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at Blackrock's in-kind redemptions. Now, of course, I am going to be happy for this because at the very least, we're going to start to get real metrics to figure out which participants and which players actually want to self-custody Bitcoin. This is very important to me. All right, it may not be important to you. That's totally fine. But to me, I want to know which institutions are serious about this. Anyways, BlackRock's IBIT shifts to in-kind transfers, enhancing liquidity and spreads. Not those kind of spreads, guys. All right, anyways, in a strategic update, BlackRock's IBIT now allows authorized participants, which means other banks and other large institutions, not peons like you and me, or maybe you're not a peon, but I am. Anyways, to move Bitcoin directly in and out of the fund. Previously, the process required cash transactions, where APs would use fiat to buy or sell Bitcoin for the ETF shares. And this method added a layer of complexity, including transaction fees and potential tax consequences. That's right. Every single time they had to switch back and forth from Bitcoin to cash, that's a taxable event. So with the switch to in-kind transfers, Bitcoin can now be exchanged without involving cash. We are going to find out which institutions actually want to hold Bitcoin. I don't care about corporations holding Bitcoin, although I am very interested to know which ones are serious, right? At the end of the day, for me, it's all about the average individual being able to store their value across time and space. So anyways, all right, moving on from that, let's take a look at paper Bitcoin summer. Got to tell you, when you see Bitcoin pumping, I mean, and I know we're sitting at like 120, but when you see Bitcoin pumping and all of these businesses just can't catch a break, right? They just keep sinking lower and lower. It really makes you think, right? It really makes you think. A whole lot of hype. Okay. Anyways, paper Bitcoin summer. What a surprise. Metaplanet, which is also still, again, okay, so it kind of seemed to have bottomed, at like the $3.50 range or something like that. Now it's sitting at like $3.75 a share or whatever it is. But they're accumulating Bitcoin probably faster than a lot of the other Bitcoin treasury companies, obviously with the exception of Strategy. They can't catch a break, though, with their shares. They just can't catch a break. Anyways, and when you look at that chart, I mean, that chart is just falling knife territory. Again, not financial advice, just my personal opinion. So Metaplanet acquires another 5,268 Bitcoin for $615 million. They now hodl 30,823 BTC, right? And the average price is 107. So they're actually up on this. Anyways, this purchase makes Metaplanet the fourth largest Bitcoin treasury company, and they, for some reason, cannot catch a break. None of them can. Go take a look at any one of them. They've all just been bleeding out, which is really strange because Bitcoin is this amazing asset. Really strange, right? It doesn't produce income. Anyways, not too much on the paper Bitcoin summer. Let's move on, though, to the SBR. That's right. Another player has entered the game. Sweden eyes first ever national Bitcoin reserve amid geopolitical tensions. Does that even really have anything to do with it? Or is it really just about the hype? Sweden could become one of the first countries in Europe to establish a national Bitcoin reserve. The Motion, a Swedish Bitcoin strategy, calls on the government to investigate how a strategic Bitcoin reserve could be built and to determine which authority would be best suited to manage it. The Motion also asks the government to confirm that it does not plan to alter the legal definition of tender or introduce a CBDC under the Riksbank Act. Proposal urges Sweden to treat Bitcoin like gold as a store of value. Okay, so they're putting it on par with gold. Sweden's central bank already maintains a gold reserve and foreign exchange reserves, and Bitcoin could serve as a complementary asset. Now, I know that Sweden seems to be a little more favorable to the individual in some respects. However, I am very curious to see, does this just become another game of confiscation for another country, for another state, right? Like, does this just become more confiscation? UK doesn't seem too keen on giving back that 61K Bitcoin. That's pretty crazy. Okay. Anyways, let's take a look at some Hopium, guys. We've got some solid Hopium. All right, so I mean, I guess we'll start off with the lowest hanging fruit of Hopium. This is from Bitcoin Magazine. Bitcoin passes Amazon, becoming world's 7th largest asset. I don't know. The comparing apples to oranges, it's not the same thing, right? It's not the same. I mean, I appreciate it, right? Because they're trying to make it relevant to the average person and all that, but it's just apples to oranges. Bitcoin's not a company. So it's just weird. But okay, right? Keeps growing. Good stuff. All right, Hopium 2. Here we go. Hopium from a pleb. That's right. Bitcoinator. What happened to Bitcoin after a government shutdown? Check this out. 2018, 2019, December 22nd, 2018 to January 25th, 2019. 35 days discussion over the Mexican border wall. Bitcoin pumped 800% afterwards. Back in 2013, October 1st to the 17th, 2013, 16 days after the Affordable Care Act, Bitcoin pumped 330%. Guys, this is some solid pleb Hopium. Get ready. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what actually happens this time. But of course, right, past performance does not indicate future performance. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see about that, but that's okay. We've got some more Hopium for you guys. That's right. Bitcoin News shared this one from Rational Root. We have entered the most explosive quadrant of the Bitcoin cycle. Do with this information what you will. And of course, guys, we're going to zoom in on this. Right? We have to zoom in so that we can really see where we are. Get ready. Okay. So all the way over here, you see this Q4 2025 range? You see all of these marks over here? This is Bitcoin all-time highs. Okay? So we are entering this all-time high extreme concentration of bullishness. I'm excited. Not gonna lie. Lots of fun. But of course, I've got to temper my own expectations, right? Got to temper my own expectations. But that looks really good. I am super excited for the next few months. Please God. Anyways, all right. It's okay. I'm not going to petition the Lord. I will not petition the Lord. Okay. Moving on. Let's take a look at this UBI stuff. I didn't think this was real. I did not. Anyways, Bitcoin Archive. I had to go digging for this one. New York launches pilot program giving low-income residents $12,000 in stablecoin on Coinbase. I don't know about that. I don't know if this is probably a really bad idea. A pilot program in New York is providing $12,000 in stablecoins to low-income residents through Coinbase funding administered by the nonprofit Give Directly. The initiative targets 160 young adults selected by lottery to study the impact of unconditional crypto support. Does that not just sound like never-ending money printing? Right? That isn't that what it kind of sounds like? Like this wording just really weirds me out. So, I mean, what do they think they're going to figure out here besides the fact that people like to get free money? And okay, so it brings up a really difficult topic, right? Of course, because there is this moral and emotional framing behind, well, if you don't want to go help the poor, then you're just a horrible human being and you're selfish and blah, 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 capitalism, all that good stuff. However, for every situation there is where somebody truly cannot help themselves and does indeed require state support because they cannot get support from their families or whatever else, right? There are many, unfortunately, many other people that are indeed taking advantage of the system. And I wouldn't say this unless I actually experienced it myself in my first job when I was an on-site technician fixing computers. Right, I used to build computers. I used to fix computers. I used to install cabling for networks, test cabling. Right, doing all of that stuff. Right, doing punch panels for the people who know what that is. You know, telemarketing phone systems, right? Dialogic boards, wiring all that stuff up. So anyways, I would go out to these different customers and these individuals, right? And I'd go to their apartments and these people, some of them were, for actually a pretty good portion of them, were indeed on welfare, and they were completely able-bodied human beings, right? And they were just doing absolutely nothing. So I don't know if giving them, and also what wasn't really clear, like it's each individual that's getting $12,000, and what are they getting it for? Is it $12,000 a year? Is it $12,000 a month? I mean, at that point, $12,000 a month. I gotta tell you, I don't want to know what stuff is going to cost when the person on welfare or the person receiving public assistance is getting $12,000 a month. So I'm definitely going to be looking to get some clarity out of this case, right? Out of this article, I want to know what exactly is happening. But I can tell you, from my own experience, giving things for free to able-bodied human beings only lets them continue to receive things for free, and it's a pretty slippery slope. It really is. Anyways, guys, this is all for today. We are going to be back tomorrow again with the news. We are not going to have an interview this week. However, we are doing the roundtable on Monday with Humble, Bitcoiner, and Sir Ulrich. It's going to be a whole lot of topics, a whole lot of contention, a whole lot of drama. But tomorrow, I really want to focus on a lot of hopium. All right, we got to end the week with so much hopium that your weekend's going to be amazing. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'll catch you tomorrow. Take it easy.